Hi, my name is Danielle and this is my kitchen in Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn. Today we're going to make Ukrainian Varenyky, which is basically the equivalent of Polish pierogi. Varenyky are basically dumplings stuffed with a variety of ingredients. It's common to stuff them with cheese or potato or pickled cabbage. The dough for the Varenyky is very simple, which is really nice because you basically only need flour, egg, a little bit of oil and salt. So today we're going to make Varenyky with potato and mushroom and a little bit of garlic. Well, the first thing we're going to do is prepare the stuffing. I like to get that going before I start with the dough. So we're going to boil some water for the potatoes. And of course we have to peel the potatoes. If you have nice potatoes, you could probably just wash them, cut them up and boil them. These potatoes don't look that great to me, so I'm going to peel them. So I lived in Kosovo, Ukraine, which is a small town in western Ukraine, for 2 years between 2006 and 2008, and I had a lot of time to learn how to cook. Because Varenyky is so popular and in fact so simple, I ended up cooking it a lot of time. I peel a lot of potatoes in Ukraine. I think that'll be enough. Whew. So we're chopping these up so they'll boil faster. It's probably a more delicate way to do this, but it'll work. So while we have the potato boiling, we're going to prepare the mushroom and garlic. This is where you have a lot of freedom in what you're going to stuff your Varenyky with, because it's pretty common to have Varenyky just stuffed with plain potato, but if you want to make it more interesting or add something to it, that an ingredient you like, you can do that. I like garlic, so I'm going to use a few cloves. So I'm just going to set this garlic aside. We're going to cut up the mushrooms.
These look delicious.
Yeah, I think these are better than the white ones would have been. Mm-hmm. We call them, I think they're called I always butchered it, but like mushrooms in Ukrainian, champignon.
Yeah. Right, in like German it's champignon.
And they never liked how I pronounced that, so they'd always be like, what are you talking about? I was like, champignons. Mushrooms. Okay. So we should heat up the oil. Once the oil is nice and hot, just why don't we check the potatoes? So you want them to break open easily. This looks really good. As long as they just fall apart. I'm just going to be mashing them. So this looks good. I think these are ready. So we're just going to turn off the heat here. Turn off the potatoes and we'll drain them. So basically, now you have your stuffing all ready. We'll wait till the potatoes cool, and now we'll work on the dough. We'll start with 3 cups of flour. One egg. We're going to use a ½ teaspoon of salt. A tablespoon of oil, and 1 3/4 cup of warm water. So basically we just want to mix this together, smooth as possible. And then we're going to add 2 1/2 cups more of flour. This is also where you start getting messy because we'll have to knead it. So basically you just want to knead the dough to the point where it starts to feel smooth and pliable. I think this is a little sticky, so I'm gonna add a little more flour. It's not the kind of dough that you need to knead for 10-15 minutes. I would estimate that you'd probably knead it for 4 or 5 minutes. So once that's done, you set it aside for about 10 minutes. So we're going to set it aside, clean up the mess a little bit, and then we will work on preparing the stuffing. So we're just going to mash up the potatoes. So first we're going to add in the mushrooms, and then we'll add in the salt. I like to add a little pepper. And that looks good for our stuffing. Okay, so now that we've finished with the stuffing, we're going to go back to the dough. We're going to cut it up into 4 pieces. So basically we're just going to roll out the dough. Make sure you have flour on your hands and flour on whatever surface you're using. You don't want it to be so thin that when you boil it, it falls apart, but you don't want it to be too thick so that when you eat it, you're eating too much dough. So basically you need to find an object in your kitchen that is not too big and not too small. I've used a Crystal Light can. This is a nice size. But if you have a bigger size, you'll have a bigger Varenyky. If it's smaller, you'll have a smaller Varenyky. So just a little bit smaller than a drinking size for a glass. And you're basically going to cut the dough into small circles. And set them aside. You just want to take the leftover dough. I like to put it aside, add it together with all my other leftover dough, roll it out one more time and use it. It can be a little tough because basically the dough's been rolled twice, so some people throw it away, but I like to reuse it. I think it's fine. Okay. So now's the fun part. You stuff the Varenyky. It's nice to use the underside for the middle so that it's easier to have them close. Just get a little bit in the middle. And so I like to stretch them out a little bit. And you don't want to put too much in the middle or it's harder to close. But basically you're just stuffing them and bringing the dough together. Usually they close pretty easily. But you do want to make sure that they're that they are together because they can come apart when you boil them. Like I said, there are a few different types of stuffings that are traditional for Ukrainian Varenyky. One of them is a potato. The pickled cabbage is very common, and also domashny syr, which is basically just homemade cheese. It's a nice filling, so you could experiment with different cheeses. So basically, once you've stuffed the Varenyky, you're basically done. You just need to boil and serve. It's nice to serve them hot. So we have our water boiling. We'll get our Varenyky. When they're fresh, you just need to boil them for about 4 to 5 minutes. First they should sink, and then they'll rise to the top. Some of the best Varenyky I ever had was served just with plain butter, just warmed butter. You can also fry up some onion. It's a nice common way to serve it. Either way, usually it's served with a dollop of sour cream. So with the mushroom and potato that we're making today, we're just going to serve them with butter and sour cream. I'm just going to cover it so that it heats up quicker. And I'm going to melt a little bit of butter. You can see they're starting to rise to the top. So it's been about 4 minutes. We'll take them out. I think it's nice to just stir them around a little bit in the butter. And just basically mix it around in the butter. So we have the Varenyky. They're basically ready to eat, but you might want to add a little bit of sour cream. By a little bit, I mean a lot. And there you have it. Delicious.